Okay, so what we're going to do is some practice problems, and this is in the chemical reactions unit, and it's lesson 3, and these are the practice problems from your packet. And we will be focusing primarily on single replacement reactions. Okay, so what we're going to do is write some single replacement reactions, and as you can see, for some of the unknown charges, we're given those, and those will apply to the single elements that are variable charges. The ones that are in the column, we will know those charges. So, okay, when we look at a single replacement, we know it's single replacement because we have the single element and the compound. And the rule is metals are going to replace metals, and nonmetals will replace nonmetals. So the iron here is going to form a compound with the chlorine, and we know iron is 3 plus, so if we have iron 3 plus, chlorine and 1 minus, our formula would be FeCl3. And then the copper will be out on its own. So when we go to balance that, we've got that 2-3 issue, so we're going to put a 2 and a 3, and then we would put a 3 for our copper and a 2 for our iron. Let me get a smaller pen so I don't run out of room. Okay, so again, now mercury is a metal, so it's going to form a compound with the sulfate. Mercury is 2 plus, sulfate is 2 minus, so we would have mercury sulfate. Again, 2 plus, 2 minus, when they crisscross, they'll cancel. I put the polyatomic in parentheses just to emphasize that you treat the polyatomic like one thing. And then we would have tin on its own, and then when we go to oops, tell you what, I made a mistake. Well, no, I didn't make a mistake. Tin would actually be 4 plus here, but that's not going to matter. If you don't understand what I just said, don't worry about it. Okay, so the next one, you've got barium. It's a metal, so it's going to form a compound with the phosphate. Barium is 2 plus, phosphate is 3 minus, so when we go to form a compound, we'll crisscross in 3, 2, and then nickel will be on its own. When we go to balance, I'm going to put a 3 here in front of the barium. And then it looks like everything, nope, we'll put a 3 in front of the nickel also. Alright, let me try to write a little neater here. Lead is going to form a compound with nitrate. Lead is 4 plus, so we're going to have lead nitrate. Since lead is 4 plus, it'll crisscross to a 4. Nitrate is 1 minus, so it'll crisscross a 1. And then we'll have gold on its own. So now we have 3 nitrates and 4 nitrates, so we're going to do 3 and 4. So we'll have 4 golds, and we want to balance our leads, so we'll put a 3 there. Next one, we have lithium and HOH, and again, as we said in class, we're going to treat it like HOH. The reason for that is so now lithium can form a compound with hydroxide. Lithium is 1 plus, hydroxide is 1 minus, so when they crisscross it'll be a 1-to-1 ratio. H will be on its own, and since it's diatomic we'll make it H2. So now we have to balance our hydrogens, and the way we're going to do that is put a 2 here. So we have 2 hydrogens, 2 is 4, so if we put a 2 there and a 2 there, we'll be in good shape. Okay, so let's take a look at the next ones. We have potassium, which is a metal, so it'll form a compound with chloride. Potassium 1 plus, chloride 1 minus. Silver will be on its own, and that all balances. We've got that hydroxide again, so we're going to take calcium and the hydroxide. Now calcium is 2 plus, and since hydroxide is 1 minus, when that 2 crisscrosses, we have to put parentheses around the hydroxide. And then we'll have sodium on its own. If we put a 2 in front and a 2 there, everything balances. Copper and hydroxide, and I believe we said copper was 2 plus. We would have to look back at the previous. Well, let's do that. We said copper 1 plus. Okay, so let's go back. So copper is going to form a compound with hydroxide, and since it's 1 plus, the hydroxide is 1 minus, so they crisscross, and then iron is on its own. We would put a 3 in front of that to get 3 hydroxides, and then we would put a 3 in front of our copper. Iron, I believe we said was 3 plus. Let's pretend it is, even if it isn't. I don't want to go back to the last slide. So we have iron 3 plus with hydroxide 1 minus, so when we crisscross, our 3 goes there. Copper will be on its own. Now we've got that 2 to 3 issue again, so we're going to put a 3 and a 2. Balance your irons and balance your coppers. Alright, now let's write some formulas. So we look here, lead 2 means lead with a 2 plus charge. Chloride, IDE ending, so when we crisscross it would be lead Cl2. Magnesium, just magnesium. Magnesium will form a compound with chloride, so MgCl2, and lead gets kicked out on its own, and everything balances. Barium nitrate, ATE ending, so polyatomic, 1 minus. Barium from the periodic table, 2 plus, so we would have barium nitrate, crisscross, and zinc. So zinc is going to form a compound with nitrate, and remember zinc is 2 plus, so when it crisscrosses, and then barium is on its own, so everything balances there. Potassium is just K. Tin 4, so again that would be tin with a 4 plus, whoops, let me try to write that a little neater. We would have tin with a 4 plus charge, nitrate, polyatomic, 1 minus, so we would have tin crisscross that 4, so then that's going to form potassium nitrate, and then tin would be on its own. If we balance 4 and 4, and it looks like that balances. Copper, again, let's assume it's copper 1 plus silver nitrate. Silver is also 1 plus, and I would need to tell you that. So we'll have copper nitrate, and then the silver gets kicked out on its own. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let's write some more reactions. Sodium phosphate, ATE ending, so that's PO4, 3 minus charge. Sodium, 1 plus charge, so when we crisscross we would have Na3, PO4, plus potassium. So potassium will form a compound with the phosphate, so we have K3PO4, and then sodium gets kicked out on its own. Let's balance that. We will put a 3 in front of the potassium and a 3, oops, and a and a 3 in front of the sodium. Alright, so let's move on. Gold. Now gold is another one where I would have to give you the charge, and gold is 1 plus. Hydrochloric acid, so every time you see hydro it's H and one other element. So we have gold plus hydrochloric acid. Gold will form a compound with the Cl, and since we said gold was 1 plus, chloride is 1 minus, so when they crisscross, it's just that. And then we have hydrogen on its own, and since it's diatomic, we'll put the 2 there. Okay, for the rest of these, I'm going to kind of just go through these and write the formulas, and then if you have questions about them, you can either email and ask, or you can just ask in class. So we've got magnesium hydroxide, aluminum on its own, so we're going to balance 2, 3, 3, and 2. Iron, let's assume iron is 3 plus here. So we have iron plus copper 2 sulfate. Copper is 2 plus, sulfate 2 minus. Since iron is 3 plus, we said, and again, I would have to tell you that. And then copper is on its own, so let's balance 3, 3, and 3. Move on to the next one. Again, let's assume iron is 3 plus again, just to make this simple. Nickel 2 iodide. So nickel with a 2 plus charge. Iodide is 1 minus, so that 2 will crisscross there. The 1 would crisscross there. So when iron 3 and iodide form a compound, we have FeI3, and then nickel on its own. Again, that 2 to 3 right thing, so we've got 3, 2, 2, and 3. Perfect. Sodium permanganate. Sodium, the permanganate polyatomic is MnO4 with a 1 minus charge, plus calcium. So then we would have calcium. Now calcium's 2 plus, and if permanganate is MnO4, actually I believe that's, yeah, that might be MnO7. Anyway, let's put a 2 there, and then the sodium, and then, okay, so let's balance it. We need 2 permanganates over there, and then we'll put we'll squeeze a 2 in there. Okay, hydrochloric acid, as we said, HCl, zinc. So zinc will form a bond or form a compound with chlorine. We said zinc is 2 plus, H2 is diatomic, and it's balanced. Alright, let's move on. Okay, we'll do these last couple. We've got aluminum, iron 2 dichromate. So iron 2 plus dichromate is the CrO7 with a 2 minus charge. So we would crisscross that. So they would be they would cancel each other out. Aluminum is 3 plus, so we'll put the 2 there, CrO7, 3 there, and then iron. And again, I would have to give you those polyatomics. So we'll put a 3 there, a 3 there, and a 2 there. Hydrogen gas reacts with iodine, both diatomics on their own, so we're going to write them like that, and they form hydroiodic acid, so a 2 there will make that one fine. The reason it's HI is because H is 1 plus, I is 1 minus, so when they crisscross it's 1 and 1. Sulfur is reacting with oxygen to form sulfur dioxide. Diatomic, covalent compound known because of that prefix, so it's sulfur dioxide. So anyway, again, we ripped through those pretty quickly, but those are the answers and basic explanations for the practice problems.